no matter what it is, whether it's personal adversity or what, everybody's going through some level of adversity, and you don't know. But to have someone come back from such a staggering loss, can you? I mean, not to go through all the mud again, but can you talk us through like how that?
Well, it sucked. Let me just say that it sucked. Okay, it was no fun. But here's the thing. And this applies to whether you haven't started yet, if you're listening and you know you need to do something. I'm going to tell you, opportunity is upon us, guys. The proverbial shit is hitting the fan. I'm telling you, it's happening right now. There are deals coming out of the woodwork for us right now. We just got like I said, this deal under contract was sold for $26 million 3 months ago. We got it for 20. Okay, to give you an idea. I mean, Beautiful. That's a huge discount. And so, stuff like that's happening. I mean, some people are saying it could be the greatest transfer of wealth we see in our lifetimes that's upon us. Now, I don't believe it's going to happen before the election. I think they're going to drop the rates before the election. But after the election, watch out, man. I think we're going to see a real reckoning. And we've got all this commercial debt coming due. And we can talk about that later if you want to. But back to mindset. So it starts with, you got to want it. You got to have a burning desire or a hunger. And so like if you come to one of my boot camps, this, Brock, the first thing we do is goal setting on steroids. Because how do you get anything if you don't know what it is? You got to know what it is you want and why you want it. You got to create that hunger. So, by the way, let me mention this to you. If you haven't done your goals recently, for God's sakes, here's the sad reality. People spend more time planning a freaking Christmas party than they do designing their lives. That's designing your life. So if you're driving, text the word links to 72345 or go to rodslinks.com. At the bottom is my goal setting workshop. I do it every year on New Year's Day. I'll do it again this year coming up. And it's about an hour. Spend an hour planning your freaking life, designing your life. Have your spouse do it. If your kids are over 10 years old, have them do it. It'll be a lot of fun. Again, it's text links to 72345 or go to rodslinks.com. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. Go do your freaking goals, because you got to create that burning desire, that hunger. That's the only way you're going to get off your ass and make something happen, or you're going to recover from a loss like I did. You got to create that hunger again. So that's what I did. I reassociated with what I wanted and why I wanted it to get going again. Then you got to make a decision. Okay. And I don't mean dip your freaking toe in the water, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. No, I mean, it is done. A great analogy for a decision means you're going to attack the island and burn your ships because you're taking their ships home. That's a decision. Okay. It's not a wishy-washy sort of thing. You got to decide. See, the Latin root for the word decision means to cut off. So you cut off any chance of escape. It is done. And then once you've done that, you're like a freaking train on a track. You're committed. If you're just thinking about it or you're just interested, you're going to get knocked off track. Motivation will get you started, but that commitment after you make a decision is what's going to bring you home. So you got to make a decision, and then you got to take the first step. Dr. Martin Luther King said, you take that first step in faith, the next step will be revealed, but you got to take it. And, I have a lot of students that are analytical. And if you're analytical and you're listening, you know who you are, and I love you, but you also know you got to check off every single freaking box before you make a move. You can't do that. You got to just have some faith, okay? You got to recognize that, you may not see the whole path. I'll give you a great analogy for this. You can drive all the way across the United States at night with your headlights seeing 60 feet in front of you, and you can make it. You may have some obstacles, but other people have done it before you. And this applies to just about anything you want to do. Certainly multifamily real estate. But you got to take that first step. Otherwise, you're going to have regrets. And, just remember this life is not a dress rehearsal, okay? There was this nurse in Australia, a hospice nurse. She took care of patients when they were about to die. Her name was Bronnie Ware. And she asked him a question, guys. And the question was, do you have any regrets? And she wrote a book about it, something like The 5 Regrets of Dying. You know what the number one regret was? Not living the life I could have lived, living someone else's life, not doing what I know I'm capable of. I can't think of anything worse than that. And so, no regrets, guys. If you're analytical, just make the move. Your family deserves it. Because you've got to push through the fear and the limiting beliefs. So fear, what is fear? F everything and run. I like to think it's false evidence appearing real for sure, because most of what you fear never happens, but it's face everything and rise. You got to go after it. And we'll talk about limiting beliefs for a minute. In fact, I've got my props right here. Hang on one second, because they're hilarious. So when I immigrated to this country, I didn't speak English, and I got thrown into school. And my mom, proud Dutch woman that she is, thought it'd be a great idea to send me to school in these wooden shoes. These are the actual freaking shoes, okay? Because we found them when we put her in assisted living. And these leather shorts the Germans wear for Oktoberfest. They're the gayest things you've ever seen. But if you're German, I apologize, but you know damn well they're gay. But anyway, so I got my ass kicked, okay? And I found out what bullies were for the first time. And, and then there were bullies on the end of my street, and they'd chase me home, and my mom would chase them off with a fly swatter. True story. So the next day, ass kicking. And so I came up with this belief system that I wasn't good enough. I used to ask myself, how can I show them I'm good enough? Which of course presupposed I wasn't. And a lot of people have these limiting belief systems. And here's the thing you want to remember. There's a reason the acronym for belief systems is BS. Things like I'm not smart enough. I'm not analytical enough. That was another one of mine. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. Again, the acronym is BS because 99% of them are BS. They have no basis in fact, but we believe they're real. So if you have one of these, make sure you drag it out into the daylight. You look at it with your adult rational mind, and it will burn up. I mean, I used to be afraid to raise my hand in front of 10 people in class, and now I speak in front of thousands and thousands of people a year. So, you can burn this BS up, but you've got to consciously bring it out into the daylight and look at it rationally, and you'll recognize it's BS. I could keep going. I got a few more if you want, but if you want to interject, I am kind of on my soapbox right now. So,
hey, no worries. It's a good soapbox. I love it.
Okay.
I mean,
all right. Well, let's talk about focus then for a minute. The most successful people on the planet have the highest degree of focus. And I'm going to tell you, with the negative crap that's happening in this country, with the censorship on the news, the propaganda on the news, and all the crap that's happening on social media with the same thing, focus is so important because you can get sucked in. We won't even talk about the politics right now. It's just insane what's happening. You don't even know what to believe anymore. And so that's why the goals are so freaking important. You need to have them in front of you. You need to have pictures of your goals in front of you so that you're focused on that, because wherever focus goes, your energy flows. And I'm going to tell you, incredible focus equals incredible success. But here's the thing. Whatever you focus on gets larger, both positive or negative, okay? And so if you're sucked into the politics like I did for a while, my blood pressure literally went up 20 points, you're just not going to accomplish anything. And that's why, your focus is so important. They asked Mother Teresa when she was alive if she was anti-war. She said, no, I'm pro-peace. I mean, you see the analogy. I get people call me and say, hey, how do I get out of student loan debt? I'm like, wrong question. How do you make so much freaking money? The debt's irrelevant, right? That's the right question. So your focus is super, super important. And I would also tell you, minimize your distractions, because here's what kills your focus. Okay. I don't know about you, but I'll be watching some stupid on Netflix, or even worse, TikTok, and I'll be scrolling through this stuff. And you're making these micro decisions every split second that are killing your focus. And I'm guilty of it as well. It's interesting. I listen to two podcasts, Joe Rogan and Tim Ferriss. And so I get both sides of the aisle, and trust me, they are definitely on either side of the aisle on those two. And I'm definitely personally on one side. I think I've already hinted about that. But the point is, on Tim Ferriss's show, he interviews the best of the best. And by the way, I get excited about my 20 million downloads. I think each of those guys gets that a week on their shows. But anyway, so I listen to Tim Ferriss, and he interviews the best of the best in the world, the best athletes, Michael Phelps, NFL players, NBA players, billionaires like Ray Dalio, heads of the highest, biggest CEOs in the country, Zuckerberg and them, and actors like Jamie Foxx, Ed Norton, Hugh Jackman, Arnold, all them. And he deconstructs their success. It's fascinating, intelligent conversation. But I started to hear a pattern. They almost all meditate. And I'm thinking, what does meditation enhance? Focus, right? Focus is critical, guys. Super, super important. And then the next piece here, especially if you're going to do multifamily real estate, which is what I teach, is you got to play to your strengths. And honestly, it doesn't even matter what you do. You play to your strengths. Your strengths are your greatest assets. Don't try to minimize your weaknesses. Success becomes much faster if you're playing in your strengths, and you align, you hire, or you partner for your weaknesses. Because when you're playing in your strengths, you're going to love what you do. And when you love what you do, success is inevitable. I see it in my space because multifamily requires, as you guys know, you have a lot of multifamily, requires analytics, but it also requires communication and outgoing personality, like an introvert with an extrovert. And those are some of the best partnerships I see in this business. So if you don't know what your strengths and weaknesses are, just ask your friends. They'll tell you what your weaknesses are for sure, but they'll also tell you what you're good at. Or you could do a Myers-Briggs profile, or Anthony Robbins has what's called a DISC profile, DISC profile. But here's the thing. Don't live someone else's life. Live your life, because when you're playing in your strengths, you're going to be passionate about it. And I don't know if you can tell, I'm pretty passionate about what I do because I freaking love it. And passion is required to influence people. In anything you're going to do, you're going to need to influence your relationships, your intimate relationship, your kids. Certainly anything in business requires passion to influence. And if you're loving what you do, it's effortless. And when you've got that passion and you love what you do, you never work another day in your life. Work is play. And, your passion also relates to it's the fuel. It's the fuel that keeps you going if you're loving what you do. So discover what juices you and inspires you, and do that. And because again, that passion breeds creativity, it breeds innovation, and it, frankly, minimizes or even eliminates fear. One of the last pieces here I want to talk about is peer group. Okay. When I was losing everything in 2008-9, I was at Anthony Robbins Platinum Partnership, Tony Robbins Platinum Partnership. It's about 130 grand all in back then. It's a lot more than that now. And I was around people that were freaking killing it in the crash, okay? And they were thriving. They were actually capitalizing on what was happening. And they're like, get up, you puss, 50 million schmillion, go make something happen, for God's sakes. Now, is that who you want to be around when the shit hits the fan? You better freaking believe it. So pay attention to who you're hanging around with right now. Because I'm going to tell you, show me your 3 best friends, I'll show you who you are in every aspect of your life, your health, your wealth, and your happiness. All 3 of the pieces you guys focus on. And it relates to who you hang out with. So here's the sad reality. Most people default to people they went to school with or people they work with. And unfortunately, some of those people may have their own limiting beliefs or fear, and they will hold you back. And sometimes even because they love you, and sometimes it's your family. I'm going to tell you, love your family, but proactively choose your peers. Get around people that want more out of life, that are going to hold you accountable, that will praise you. Can I brag for a minute about my warrior group?
Absolutely.
So I have coaching students. They're called my warriors. And they own upwards over, I believe, 180,000 units right now. And I've only been teaching 5 years. That's something I'm super freaking proud of. But here's the thing. The reason it's so successful is they hold each other accountable. They praise each other. And we're seeing deals close almost every single day. But that's what you need to get around. You need to get in a group like that that's going to hold you to a higher standard. That thinks what you think is hard is easy. That's who you want to be around. Now, if you're interested in multifamily, you have an interest in what I do, you can text the word CRUSH to 72345, and that's how you apply to that program. It's CRUSH to 72345. But the bottom line is proactively seek out people that want you what you want, that aren't afraid of your success, that aren't going to, when you have a dream, initially it's a fragile thread. And it's very easy to break that thread. So you got to be very careful who you share your dreams with initially. And again, you want to get around people that think what you think is hard is easy. If you want to get better at tennis, do you want to play somebody better than you or worse than you? Right? You know the answer.